Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hey everybody.
Hello, everyone!
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Guru.
Sure. Sure, man. And we just watched another Wolfcop.
Another Wolfcop!
One more Wolfcop,
An
please.
additional
Thank you.
Wolfcop!
Yeah? You got your first one, and then you got another.
And then you have another one.
Yeah, Wolfcop.
More violence. More sex.
Is that my sister?
More liquor. More explosions. More donuts. More hair. More hockey.
You're a wolf. I think you're missing the bigger issue here, though. Heads where I can see him.
Did we mention chicken milk? Slam a cold cock.
It's really the perfect title for a sequel.
It really is. And yeah. My goodness.
Yeah.
Before we talk about that, I want to thank you. Do a thank you. I want to thank Steven.
Steven!
Thank you so much. Steven's our we just watched producer for this episode. Thank you so much, Steven. For I believe Steven's the one who made us watch Wolfcop.
I would assume it would be would be weird if Steven wasn't the same person. It would be some sort of strange animal, if you would.
Yeah. Sure enough, he was like, another Wolfcop, please, and we were like, sure.
Coming up.
That's one other Wolfcop coming up. This had you seen this movie before?
No. So
neither have I.
Yeah. So unlike the first Wolfcop, which I had seen a few times before we did the episode, this is my first time seeing another Wolfcop.
Yeah, same here. And I did not. I really liked. I mean, people can go back and listen to our review of Wolfcop. We both really enjoyed Wolfcop.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have high expectations for another Wolfcop because it felt played out.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, how did you like another Wolfcop?
I didn't like it as much, but I still really liked it.
Same.
Yeah.
I must compliment the Wolfcop people because after watching this, I'm like, I could watch a third Wolfcop.
And when it
probably.
ends, Wolfcop will return. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I was most impressed with is the fact that there's a fucking Frankenstein in this, and I had no idea. Like, they hide it in the trailer. Yeah. So, like, when the Frankenstein shows up, I was like, of course that's what you do in the second movie.
Right. You start adding shit like that.
Yeah.
That is really they do a really good job at it's I would argue it's framed a lot like most like 90s or 80s action, where you start with the cold open of the bad guy raising the stakes, and then it's like back to the fun and games, and we're back in Wolfcop. He's chasing some bad guys.
Yeah.
Some Christmas themed bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like they immediately took from the format of previous movies, like, I don't know, your Lethal Weapons and
Tango and Cash. It's yeah. I mean, the beginning is
also
very Lethal Weapon too. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're movies that also you always wonder, like, or well, I never did because I grew up with them, but you can look at those and be like, how do you make sequels to those? You know?
Yeah.
And that's how you do them. You do it villain based. You go, and here's a new villain.
Right. You treat it almost like these kinds of action movies. The sequels are treated almost like a procedural. It's just like, here's a new case. You know.
Yep. And we're gonna add a little more. Here's a new character. Here's a new weirdness.
Yeah.
And so they nail that really well immediately. Also, this movie's an hour and 18 minutes.
I know. Bless them. Bless them. They know. I
literally wrote, an hour and 18 minutes, bless you. That's what I wrote in my notes.
Because I think the last Wolfcop was like 80 minutes too. Like they know.
Yeah.
They know. And I think that's the thing I wanted to... I didn't have high expectations going in, but I was hoping that it would at least do the thing that they did so well with the first one, which is that it nails the tone perfectly as an homage without really being a parody. It just like does that. It does the 80s thing. It doesn't like reference the 80s thing. Well, I mean, it does because it's doing it, but like it's not just like pointing at 80s stuff and being like, isn't it cool we're making an 80s movie? They just made an 80s movie.
Right. It's kind of what the first season of Stranger Things, I always kind of praise them for, is that Stranger Things is worse at this because they do a lot of references, but they also shot it.
Yes.
Like the thing.
Yeah.
And that was very important because I think it's easy. There's so many things that just will shit out references and not actually like honor the references on an artistic level or a structural level.
Right.
And this absolutely, again, the first sequence when it's someone who's just like, it's not this line, but it's someone saying like, where's that Wolfcop anyway, or whatever. It's the bad guy saying like, no one can stop us, and then it's like cut to Wolfcop on a case.
Yeah,
it's shit like that where they do it really well. On top of it, they're aping that 80s style, but on top of it, they're doing almost trauma. They're doing like that weirdness level that you see in like it's not the movies. It's not the structure they're aping. It's weirder movies. It's more cult movies with, a monster dick, for example.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that. It's not as gutter as trauma.
No, not as gutter. Yeah. But the effects are very trauma-esque. It's not as grotesque. But it's more of this time. It feels like more of like
its attitude is definitely more. The personality is more of this time. Yeah.
It's got hints of like Turbo Kid or Psycho Gorman.
It's somebody from the 21st century making an 1980s movie. So it's
right.
They're following the format and structure and pacing and just all the ideas they execute really well, but they're doing it with the sensibility of being 30 years removed from it. So and I think the key is it's a comedy. That's for sure. Yes, yeah,
but
obviously.
the comedy doesn't come from the references.
No,
it comes from the absurdities that they're adding in that are relatively like fresh ideas or jokes.
And they're reacting to the absurdities like a character in one of these movies would.
Yeah. So it really is like they're walking this very I don't even know if it's a fine line for them because they're just doing it without much effort. It's not. I mean, mind you, the humor is not my favorite humor.
No, not every gag lands.
But it works. It all works together. It is very structurally sound.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing. I felt ashamed to laugh at chicken milk beer and their motto slam a cold cock. It's stuff like that where I'm like, all right. Yeah, I'm laughing, but I don't feel good about it.
Well,
all right.
The slam a cold cock was just like, all right, but then you have like Kevin Smith, who, by the way, is in this film as the mayor.
He's in this film. He's in 2 scenes, and it's clear they got him for like a day, and they did it.
I read it was because he was up in. This is a Canadian production. These are all Canucks. It's because he was.
I forgot when they sing the national anthem. Yeah, it's Canada. Oh, Canada! I was like, oh God, that explains so much.
Well, and then you get a couple of boots in there. Like Wolfcop says, like, what do you know about shifters?
Right.
But like, I had read that Kevin Smith was up there scouting locations for Tusk.
And
just got hooked up with the production somehow.
Yeah, this seems like something he'd be a fan of.
Right.
And
but anyway,
he plays the mayor?
He's the mayor of the town. Yeah, it's very
and he's just, I love it whenever Kevin Smith acts, because he just acts like Kevin Smith.
He acts like Kevin Smith, yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time, someone like in Die Hard, they knew where to cast him, you know? It's just very funny to cast him as a mayor, and they know it's funny because he's just not a mayor.
No,
Like,
why would he ever be the mayor?
He doesn't give off mayor energy at all.
Well, but he gives off the right energy that they need, right? Because the mayor's supposed to be like a crooked schmuck, and he gives off that energy.
I mean, like, it just works because it's Kevin Smith and it's funny.
Yeah. So the point I was making is him saying, I'm gonna slam a cold cock or whatever.
Slam a cold cock, yeah.
Yeah. So that it's funny when you have Kevin Smith saying it with like 110% enthusiasm. But just the base idea of chicken milk beer is such a perfect joke to me.
Yes. Well,
it's so repellent just in its name.
Well, here's what I like about it is that it's the perfect combination of three things: chicken, milk, and beer that you just don't want like together.
Should never be combined. Chicken and beer, okay. Chicken and milk, sure. Not all three. What are you doing?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that milk beer is a combination that beers do, I believe, like a creamy beer.
I'm sure
I've seen like craft, and so that's what I like it too. Is that it's a perfect escalation or parody. This is all right. It's I do want to break this down because it's good. Is that they're not just randomly throwing words at you. What I like about it is that it feels like drinking local craft beer. You always get bullshit. There's always bullshit beers.
Yeah.
And milk and beer is something I've seen together before. And so just adding chicken milk beer, and then beers always have like weird names on top of it.
Yeah.
A lot of them have like rooster something in the name. So it's kind of the perfect name. They nailed it. They nailed it with that because it really is a good parody of local
microbreweries,
microbrews. Yeah.
And chicken milk.
Yeah, it's also they love doing this, but it also reflects the town where it's like, yeah, this is like we drink like the Canadian equivalent of Black Label here, which might actually just be Black Label. Like we drink like the shitty watery beer around here, not that craft shit.
Yeah.
You know, and it works really well for that little like juxtaposition and that conflict. And just having the villain is like a craft microbrewery. Like
he is. Yeah, he is. It's one of the things. These filmmakers are actually quite good at what they do.
That's the thing. They're not just lobbing things out to be random.
Yeah,
they're doing the work. They're thinking about it.
Yeah. It's it's low budget, and you see it. You can see some seams here and there. Like the acting's a little shaky, and there's some sets or props or effects where you're like, well, that doesn't But like the film itself is just man, it's just really well done. And one of the things to that point that really stuck out to me is that they don't bother to recap the first film.
No, not at all.
They just
need.
There's no need, and they're absolutely right. It's like Tim Burton's Batman in a weird way, where it just kind of starts, and it's like you don't need the origin. You don't need Batman's origin. You know who Batman is. Let's go. Like
right.
It just so we don't. They already know that nobody's gonna come into another Wolfcop without having watched Wolfcop. So it's like,
or without like not caring.
Right. You're not gonna casually watch another Wolfcop. You're only fans of the first Wolfcop will watch the second Wolfcop. So it was just it's seemingly minor choices like that, and they are. That is we bring it up a lot. It's not like mind blowing. It's just it's very basic, but it's work that doesn't get done a lot. So it's just very refreshing to see filmmakers on a very independent level just doing the fucking work to make a tight movie that is doing the things that they want it to do without losing focus or, like you said, lobbing a bunch of random shit at you. It's just very well done. It's very impressive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because they also know. All right, we're working on these limitations. It's going to naturally look campy just because of our budget limitations.
Yes.
There's definitely stuff that they could have done better.
Yeah.
The thing that popped out at me immediately was I thought the cinematography was a little shaky at times. Not in the sense that like it's well lit. It's standard. It's more that it's very standard. The part where they're cutting between like the chief talking to the other cop and the truck fight at the beginning, and those two things are going to intersect. There's some framing there which I thought felt very off. It's little things where like they could have visually set some stuff up a little better. I noticed
that felt a little more like the editing was a little wonky in that scene.
Yeah, well, it's stuff. Yeah, the editing was wonky there, but like they're setting up an idea where it's like we know the truck is going to show up because they're talking about Wolfcop being like reckless. Mm-hmm. They keep cutting to the truck down the street. They're next to the street. Inevitably, these two things are going to intersect. The way they're cutting back and forth, but they're shooting them. It's almost like it was too much editing. They kept doing these back and forth shots between the two characters, and like they never really like foreshadow the road in a visual way. And it almost felt like those two scenes weren't originally made to be intersecting like that, like shot that way. And it's very subtle, and it's not a big deal. It just felt like, there was a little bit off.
There's
those were things that weren't budget limitations. Was like, you could have thought this out a little more. But
yeah, that's fair. And I did flag that scene, and it's because it's because they're doing a gag where the chief is saying, will say something, and then it'll cut back to Wolfcop in the car, and he will do something that is it reflects what she just said. Like she'll say, "We'll get a leg up," and it cuts to Wolfcop ripping some guy's leg off. But the timing on that wasn't always consistent. So
right.
like I did flag that.
It felt like they never had the truck for those shots. Like I would have liked a shot where the road is between them and you can see the truck slowly coming as they're talking. Something like that.
Yeah, we needed a little more geography in that sequence. But the interior of the truck, you can absolutely tell is just like some plywood and a curtain. Like it's okay.
It's perfect.
But they do some other stuff that's really clever, like when they to get around it, like when they set Frankenstein on fire in the strip club. Obviously, they don't have the budget to completely set a man on fire,
right?
But they found a clever way to shoot and edit around that. So for every wonky editing thing, there's like a clever thing that they do to get around their budget.
Yeah, and also it's not like, I mean, this stuff does matter, but it's not like it hurts. It ultimately like ruined the film or anything. And it's not why I'm watching another Wolfcop.
No, but it's nice. Like that's what separates the care and attention and specificity. Just the fact, the level of work that they're doing in a movie like Wolfcop and another Wolfcop is what makes them. It's what sets them apart from the bullshit asylum movies, like Three-Headed Shark.
For sure.
Like those movies are just shat out with, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Ultimately, it's all it works. It's all pretty damn entertaining. And you don't notice too many problems like that.
No, and I like that they didn't for the most part, they didn't do this, just rehash the same gags.
Yeah, they didn't really.
They do the sex scene again, but it's like, it's good. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
They knew they needed to escalate them. Like that's the thing.
Holy shit, that sex scene.
Oh yeah, and that's maybe the only time.
I think that's the only one.
A gag.
Yeah, that's the only time where they rehash a gag, but they one up it. Like they go further with it because they know they have to.
Yeah, and here's the other thing on top of that is that reflecting the genre they're doing, which is like a Lethal Weapon type. Like the genre they're aping is not a monster genre.
No, it's Lethal Weapon.
It's rogue renegade cop.
The poster,
like, that's what it is.
The poster of this movie is a goof on the poster of Cobra.
Right.
It's him doing the Cobra pose, and it's even the same tagline.
And by doing the sex scene again, or another sex scene, they change the music. They don't do the same musical gag. And of course it's silly. It's done silly. But, like, you think of movies like that, like, yeah, they always have, like, a new romantic interest, all those movies. Like, those movies will repeat the same beats as well. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beats that it would, repeat, and so they repeated it as well, so it works for me.
It was smart. Like, it was a good way to do that. It wasn't like watching Austin Powers Goldmember.
Yeah, it was not like watching Austin Powers Goldmember. That's true. Oh man, should we say what the plot is? Like, I don't know if it matters.
Wolfcop. But... It's another reptilian dude is coming to the town in the guise of a microbrew self-help guru type guy. And they're putting basically the reptilian aliens from the first film can't reproduce on Earth, we learn. So they're putting some sort of goo, they're putting their space goo into the chicken milk beer. And I guess that could be like a goof on like sperm, like it's cock milk. But so they drink. Everybody who's drinking this new microbrew, they have this device that they're going to set off at the grand opening of the brewery / hockey arena. That's going to hatch all the reptilian eggs inside people, and they're going to burst out, and then the world's going to be taken over by aliens, or at least the town. Yep. The town will be taken over by aliens.
Yeah, it's oddly low stakes.
Well, it doesn't need to be. I mean, the stakes just need to be this like.
Well, it's again, this town is like, it's ground zero for the occult.
Right. It's a town of like 2,000 people, if that.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's just ground zero for the occult and aliens and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So we start back up with our old friend Wolfcop in his awesome like 80s. He's living out of an animal shelter, which is a great idea.
Yeah.
He's listening to 80s metal and like has like hot chick posters. Like, it's very like gritty Ninja Turtle, you know?
Yeah.
He's not wearing pants. We see his dick.
Yeah.
Pretty immediately.
See his Wolfcop dick. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still like just a ridiculous drunk. That never changes.
No.
They all are. Everybody.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Willie comes back.
Willie comes back. Yeah, that was.
I enjoyed the line, they penetrated me with gusto.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, of course you bring him, like, even though he turned out to be an evil shapeshifter and got killed in the original movie, of course you bring him back because he's the best person. Yeah.
Yeah, they write around it because the way it's like he was abducted and then turned into the shapeshifter. So this is the non-shapeshifter Willie.
Right, they replaced him with a shapeshifter.
Yeah. It's so weird to laugh at like an alien anal probe joke.
It's just it's the line and the way he delivered. Like this actor's delivery is killer.
They're really good at like that's where it is where like the humor doesn't, or the broad idea of some of the jokes I didn't expect to find funny, but then they do the flashback. And when they're probing him, he goes, "Oh, that's kind of nice."
He's so matter of fact about it. He's like, they penetrated me with gusto.
It's all in the delivery. Yes, it's all in the delivery. Yeah. Stuff like the bad guy's name is Sidney Swallows, and the news reporter just pauses after saying it for everybody to enjoy it.
It's a very long pause. It's very weird. But it was it made me laugh out loud, I will say.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost entirely in getting the right take. He watches his TV and he's laughing at a guy telling another person he has cancer.
Wait, so,
then he says, "You also have AIDS."
You also have AIDS. And then again, Wolfcop is just laughing his ass off.
Ridiculously, I can't stress enough, in extremely childish jokes.
Yeah.
That are working.
Yeah.
Again, the slam a cold cock. It's like the club name is Club Fuck. Spelled PHUCQUE.
Yeah, they just say Club Fuck, and there's a stupid recurring joke where everybody, when they keep using walkie-talkies and radios to talk to each other, but every time you're with a character who's listening to another character speak over the radio, it sounds like Charlie Brown adults. Like it's unintelligible, but like everybody understands it perfectly. It's a real dumb joke, but I don't know. It just because like every now and then they'll go a little wacky with it. Like they'll have, normally it's just like the Charlie Brown like, and then like, yeah, okay, I understand you. But every now and then like they'll make like a weird noise like, and she'll be like, yeah, that's right, I'll be right there. It's so dumb.
It's so incredibly dumb.
It's done with care and intent, and like it's not just dumb for the sake of dumb. You know what I mean? Like it's not constantly the weird noises over the radio. It's just like every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I'd compare it to is something like the Broken Lizard humor, which is that it's childish, but they're really good at it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's I think my favorite. Like I would love these two to get together. Like
that would be pretty great. Yeah.
Because it's about that same. It really is.
It does have a real.
It's very dumb. It's just blunt force impact of jokes.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith talking about a porn he's seen called The Cunt for Red October.
And then he's like, nobody really likes that word, October.
And it's like, that's such a dumb joke that I'm laughing at right now.
And that's just Kevin Smith, because it's like one of his things is coming up with funny porn parody titles.
Yeah,
so like that's just him saying shit.
Right.
Man. Yeah, I do get like a Club Dread vibe from this. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's such a weird. I think it goes back to the David Zucker stuff, but it's actually like a little. It's almost a little more complex.
It is.
Where David Zucker is dad jokes. David Zucker is very much dad jokes.
And David Zucker there's a lot of non sequiturs.
Yes. But it's almost entirely, it always comes down to execution.
Yeah. And nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, and that's really, it's really difficult because I'm sure a lot of these movies, they probably read really bad on the page. Like, the scripts are probably like, you really kind of have to be, it's like sketch writing. Like, you have to be part of the group of people, and kind of how the jokes are going to
exactly. Like any time we would do just like cracked sketches, for instance.
Yeah,
like you'd get like somebody like Michael. Like he'll edit his words down so there are very few words on the page, but you know that he's going to do it because you know what he's like as a performer. So like on the page, like I don't know about this, but then you give it to the performer. And then it's fucking hilarious. So it's like I totally see that.
Yeah, it's a lot of like it's his expressions or it's the tone. Yeah. And or sometimes it's the cinematography itself.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to mention that because you had mentioned the cinematography gets a little wonky, but then you had mentioned the lighting. I think the lighting does a lot for this movie in terms of maintaining the homage that it's supposed to be. Like
I can see that.
The lighting is really good in a lot of the scenes because it's lit like an 80s action movie, but kind of like a grimy 80s action, like Cobra, like the one that they're referencing on the poster.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, the lighting is really important, especially in low budget movies.
Yeah, and we talked about this, I think, in the first movie, the first podcast. One of the things they don't do, which I feel like actually they could have done in a very subtle way, is they don't intentionally degrade like the format. It's shot on digital and it looks clear.
Yeah.
It would be, I think there would be an instinct to add like film grain to a movie like this.
Yeah.
I actually would have enjoyed this shot on film with where again, not trying to add it, but a little grit in the frame would have been kind of cool, but again, ultimately it's better that they didn't like try to grindhouse it up and add that stuff in post.
I don't think it would have hurt the movie, but I think I agree with. It's basically I'm long-winded way of saying that I agree with you. Yeah,
yeah.
It would have been it would have been cool. I don't think it would have hurt the movie to have it there. It wouldn't have felt like it was like one of those try-hard movies that just doesn't do this well.
Yeah,
so I was gonna say to off the Zucker thing. This movie is very it's less of just throw in whatever, because like the Zucker movies will have a premise, but there'll be jokes in there that are from anything, every genre, pop culture. Like they're just hodgepodges of just whatever gag we want to throw into this scene. Whereas a movie like Wolfcop, it's more about, it's still wacky and zany, but it's more, all of the humor has to be in universe.
Yeah. Well, I think there's yes, it's definitely in universe. It all fits the tone. I think movies like this and Super Troopers, they all get one like random ass joke. And in this case, I believe it is Organo. Your name is Organo and you play the organ?
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Why the fuck aren't you wearing pants? There's just the hockey game at the end. There's an organ player who is just makes no sense. He's working for the bad guy, so he fits in the world. Like it's like, oh, he's a henchman of the bad guy.
He's
elaborate.
He's a reptilian shapeshifter. Yeah.
Yeah, but the like the gag of him being called Organo. And then when he's confronted, it's revealed that he's not wearing pants. And then when Willie kills him, he says, "It's time to die, you strange animal," which is a great line.
Well, the song of the movie is "Strange Animal."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like an internal reference, but yeah, it's the song that plays both during the sex scene and during the end credits, and it's kind of a banger. That's another thing, is because the first Wolfcop also had like its own '80s song that was good. Like it was, because it wasn't them making like a joke '80s song. It was like they just made an '80s song like in earnest.
Yeah, it's also understanding what part of '80s, like there's a Twisted Sister song in this, the "Oh Come All Thee Faithful."
Yes,
and it's like that's exactly where you're aiming. You're hitting it.
Yeah,
you know exactly what you need. And yeah, that's the ending credits song. Like perfectly encapsulates the whole film.
Yeah, it sounds like it was written by Stan Bush.
Yeah,
and he's still out there making music. By the way, he put out an album last year, and it sounds like fucking Stan Bush from the '80s. So like, it's still possible to write this music without it being a parody, even though it is like it's funny, but like it's. I think we talked a lot in the last episode, so I won't need to rehash, us discussing the difference between homage and parody, but this movie and everything about it is like such a good homage.
Yeah. It doesn't mirror any specific scenes.
No.
It mirrors the overall vibe of one of these movies.
Yeah.
While adding a wolf cop.
Well, throw the fucking wolf cop in there. Well, because you're starting from the idea, like I was thinking about that, because I was like, man, it would be fun to make one of these, but what would I do? And it's like, well, you would start with like, well, what's the hero? What's a cool archetypal hero you can do weird shit with? And then like invariably you land on something like RoboCop. And it's like, okay, well, I can't do RoboCop. What do I do? Werewolf Cop.
Right, but I actually think RoboCop, it's funny, I don't even think about RoboCop in comparison to this film, because you're right, it's half cop, half blank. Mm-hmm. But I actually think the use of a wolf, again, is not a random choice. Because if you go back and you think about something like Lethal Weapon, the idea is you're out of control.
Yes, he's a loose cannon.
You can't control yourself. You're a loose cannon. So yeah, it's literally just someone who can't control themselves half the time.
Yeah.
And the other half, they're like a depressed alcoholic.
And they're also kind of like RoboCop leans more into this, obviously, because RoboCop is satire. But like a lot of these loose cannon 80s action cop heroes are basically slashers.
Yes.
So the werewolf, of course, fits perfectly into that.
Yeah, he shows up, he kills everyone.
He kills everyone. They're just
the
like
chief
robbing
is like,
some
you
shit.
did it again. Yeah.
Wolf Cop.
Yeah. So it just fits so well with the werewolf mythology.
Yeah. And plus, like, werewolves just to me are intrinsically hilarious. So
they're big walking dogs. They're big stupid
dog, and there's all this lore around it. I don't know. It's just a werewolf doing mundane day-to-day activities. It's extremely funny to me. Like a werewolf brushing its teeth. I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I'm gonna giggle like an idiot.
I love that they had the term lichen lawman.
where she says, that whole bit with Willie's sister, where he takes her.
Yeah,
he takes Wolfcop to his sister's house because she's like also into the occult. And she says something like he's alike, and he's like, yeah, he's also a werewolf. So fucking dumb. But they start snorting moon rock to like restore his abilities. And she crushes up. It's a stupid ass line, but it's delivered so well. Actually, it's not a stupid line. It's actually pretty well written. But she gives him she crushes up the moon rock and lets him snort it. And Willie's like, "Should we sure that's a good idea? Because I know at the very least he can't afford that."
Yeah, I really love that. When he thinks it's cocaine.
Yes.
Oh, that is a great line.
It's a solid line, because you could have just been obvious about it and been like, "Hey, is that cocaine?" But no, you get.
But that's where it reminds me of something like Broken Lizard, where it's it's not just it's unfair to boil it all the way down to the performances. They have good dialogue or good phrasing too.
Right.
Stuff like Wolfcop starts sleeping with the sister because, spoilers, she's also a werewolf.
She's like a werecat.
Yeah,
she has a tail and makes cat noises. And her name is Cat.
Right. Mm-hmm. She's a werecat.
She's a werecat.
And then Willie later says he just laid the good wood into my sister. And it's lines like that where it's like, instead of, "Oh, bro, you just fucked my sister," they found a fun way to say it.
Yeah. It's the idea is kind of obvious and lowbrow, like, "Hey, what if they snort a moon rock like cocaine?" But the way they introduce the idea and talk about it is what sets it above other comedies that would have the same premise but not executed as well.
Yeah, then they extend the moon rock. At one point, he's like, he fights a hockey team. That's the thing that happens.
He fights a hockey team of like zombie Frankensteins.
Yeah, of course he does. And then he gets fucked up and he mixes the rest of the moon rock with alcohol, and he's like, "You know what, you're drinking moonshine." It's like, oh yeah,
I was right there. It was because it was this old bum drinking it out of a mason jar. So it's obviously that's what it is, but you don't connect it until you say, "You're drinking moonshine." I was like, "Oh, fuck you, movie." He is drinking moonshine.
Yeah. And we haven't talked about I forget what he calls him. The evil Willie. Bad Willie.
Oh my God, that little puppet.
Yeah. And this is that and the Frankenstein. Like, they know to add, like, raising the stakes in a sequel like this is a lot of just, we're gonna add more weirdness.
So,
yeah. He Willie comes back and does he drink the beer? I assume. And he bursts like a little. If for some reason his little shapeshifter that bursts out of him takes a second, and it's just like looks like a penis that's coming out of his torso that he talks to,
and it has a little mustache, and it speaks with his voice.
And the eyes move.
It's so fucking funny.
It's a terrifying puppet, and it works really well.
It's very funny. No, he doesn't actually drink the beer. That baby, I think we're supposed to assume, was implanted in him when they penetrated him with gusto.
Right. Not that it ever matters.
No, it doesn't matter, right. But I think that's how they explain why it doesn't just immediately turn into a reptilian.
Right.
And it does later, and it's like fighting Wolfcop, only it's Lou in his human form, and it's like biting him, and Willie has to shoot it, and he's aiming the gun, and he's like, "I can't, man, he's my little dude."
Yeah.
So he hands the gun to his sister, and she just blows it away.
Yeah, they have like a little bit of a bonding, but not really.
Not really, yeah, because that's as sad as he gets. He just says, "I can't, he's my little dude," and hands the gun to somebody else.
Which does amount to the level of bonding they had.
Yes, that's it. That is entirely
they might have gotten along at some point. I don't know.
This goddamn movie.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's I think, if you didn't like the first Wolfcop for whatever reason, which is, it's like
sure, yeah,
David Zucker or the Broken Lizards, it's like, some things it just doesn't work on people, and that's fine. Then you're not, it's not going to work for you this time. A lot of this felt like it was like, I don't want to. A lot of it feels like they had it was like stuff that they couldn't fit into the first movie, where it's like this is either for budget reasons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
it's
I don't know.
like we said, it's not going to capture the magic of the first movie, but I do think when they're faced with a sequel and they do something like this, it's like it really restored my faith.
Yeah,
where it's like, okay, so they know how they need to extend what is essentially one joke, but that they've turned into not that,
right? Because it's not because.
It's not one joke. It just feels like it could have easily been.
The joke is the entry point for audiences, where it's like Wolfcop, isn't that funny? But then you get into the movie, and it's because it's homage rather than trying to parody anything specific or just like a random basket of random jokes. You can just it's endless. You can just continue making a comedy horror movie that is in that genre. You know what I mean? Like it's just. There's endless jokes. It's just however because there's endless things to kind of just different tropes and storylines and stuff you can kind of do as an 80s action movie. I
think what the smart move was, and I forget what I actually thought about this in the first one, is the shapeshifters, the lizard people in the first one. That's actually, I think, what makes this work. Is that had the first one just been like drug dealers, I think they actually would have had a problem.
Yeah.
Escalating it. They would have had to introduce more in this one. The fact that the Wolfcop is the entry point to the reveal that this town is paranormal.
Yeah.
That there's shit going on. It works really well because it also, using the alien or the lizard people, there's less rules to them, so you can get just a lot weirder.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all just sort of meshes together in this way where you're like, it's weird that I'm following what's happening. It's weird that like this all makes enough sense.
They have, because I think another benefit of doing like the weird occult stuff is that they don't over-explain anything, and that's something that a lot of movies think they need to do, but don't actually. We don't need a bunch of rules. We just need a couple of basic things, and that's it. Just whatever we need to understand what's happening in the story.
They know they're not going to win any awards for stories.
No, and they don't.
None of the characters I felt particularly attached to. But that's again, it's the same with kind of Broken Lizard, where they're not going for emotional arcs; they're going for very basic character arcs.
Yeah. And
that's fine.
Yeah, and they have the sense that they should never have a scene where somebody sits down and just drones on exposition about the shapeshifters. We don't need that. All we need to know is that they're evil alien shapeshifters.
Yeah, it's fine.
And oh crap, there was one more point I wanted to make, and it's fled my mind. That's okay. Oh, you can actually. This is related to some of this movie feels like it could maybe be discarded ideas from the original script. You can definitely see that they do have a little bit more money this time around because they are able to get more impressive locations.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the finale of the first film takes place in the woods.
Right, and this one is a hockey arena
with like a bunch of extras.
Yeah. Still not that many.
Still not that. There's maybe 50, but like
that big of a budget. But like, still, yeah.
It's a bona fide hockey. It looks like a real hockey arena, you know. And it's
very funny that it's a brewery over a hockey or under a hockey arena.
Sure,
it's like that shit didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah. And you know they get the club fuck. They have a little club.
Yeah.
You know, so they were able to expand it a little bit. Had a little bit more impressive locations this time around.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
For sure. It's it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
It's again, if you liked the first one, you're gonna like the second one, which is actually good news because the first one is short, and so when you think about the short length, it's like. It is because it's like get in, get out. We don't need to explore this too much. So you wonder, like, well, how do you add another movie?
Right.
They figured it out.
Yeah, you might think that because the first one was short, that like, oh, well, they rode this idea as long as they could. Well, nope. There's more you can do with it.
It really is that thing where, like they. It's not just the one joke. Mm-hmm. It could have easily been a short film that's just the one joke. And the fact that they figured out how to not do that, is very smart, and they did it in the easiest way, which is like, it's again going back to like Broken Lizard or David Zucker. You keep the arcs really simple. You do, there's a bad guy. It's not complicated. Like they have henchmen. They have to beat the bad guy. Bad guy beat, movie over.
Yep.
The secret is in the humor, and so again, if you like the humor, it works. If you don't, it doesn't work. Simple as that. You're not watching this film for any other reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet, man.
Yeah, it is. I liked when he ripped the guy's skin off like it's a hockey brawl.
Yeah, he did
during the hockey match.
Yeah,
or hockey match. He like goes like from behind, like Happy Gilmore ripping that guy's shirt off.
It's the hockey
but it's
fight
his
when
flesh.
You pull a shirt over their head, except he pulled the guy's flesh over his head.
Yeah. They really figure out all the angles.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
he punched his arm through the getaway driver and starts punching him in the face.
I like when they look in the truck and there's a single eyeball amongst the viscera. I always love a single eyeball because it's like I don't know how that would have happened.
Yeah.
but I'm down. I'm down for it.
It's like in Jaws. What the fuck happened to his eye?
Yeah.
The shark bite it out?
Did the shark pluck it out? What the fuck is going on there?
Who cares?
Was that a separate injury?
Was a different fish in there?
Yeah. Oh, one of the lines I really liked, because there's like the rookie cop who dies.
Yeah.
I like him before he dies. I don't want to die, not on my birthday. I just like that line because it's like, oh.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's just the reveal that it's his birthday. It's very funny to me. Such stupid fun.
Yep. Oh man.
All right, that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
about
I think that's a sode. I think we've done it.
I think we've done it.
We've accomplished what was expected of us.
Yeah. Well, I think. I also think I think we did a great job, Tom.
We did. We did an excellent job. We did an excellent job
explaining this movie and why it works and who it would work for. We did it.
Yes.
Steven, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. This really was a pleasure. An hour and 18 minutes. I mean, come on.
It's breezy.
That's great.
Perfect way to start my day. I woke up, I watched this movie, I was like,
yeah, I'm ready for the day.
Just had a bop in my step.
Yeah. So this was through our Patreon. If people are interested, they can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. For $5 a month, you get 3 exclusive podcasts: Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama. Those are all on there. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We do a bunch of stuff, so you can go check that out.
We also have a store. Head on over to gamefullyunemployed.com. You will find the complicated link to our Teespring store. It's a new storefront. You can get t-shirts and other stuff. I think stickers, mugs, maybe masks.
Yeah. There's stuff.
Posters.
There's stuff.
We got some cool posters. Check it out. We got all kinds of stuff in there.
Yep. Oh, also, looks like I brought a knife to a wolf fight. Great line.
Solid line.
Yeah.
Oh,
How
man.
could you not have that in there?
Nope.
That's like the first day one of script writing.
Yeah, so obviously
you write that down.
That's the first post-it note on the board. This is going somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere.